Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Shea Vaughn, and you're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Network here on WBTVN. I just have to tell you, I am so excited about my guest today. She actually just, modifies the word expert. And you're going to see that when we chat together. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Teresa de Grosbois is a 4-time best-selling author and an international speaker, sought by entrepreneurs and large corporations wanting to better understand how local word of mouth can suddenly turn into an epidemic. Specializing in the topics of influence and success, Teresa has a proven track record in understanding the word of mouth epidemics, having taken three books to best-selling status in only 8 months. Her book, Mass Influence, hit #1 international bestseller status in North Africa and in Europe on the same day that it was launched. Teresa teaches business and marketing courses across the globe, including teaching courses to startup entrepreneurs in developing countries. Please help me say hi and welcome to our guest, because this girl is amazing. Teresa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, Shea.
Well, and it's just great to have you, because entrepreneurship is such a big thing. And the influencers that have come through this train of entrepreneurship is really changing the world on all the things that they're doing and putting together. So my first question to you is, tell me a little bit about growing up and how you got to where you are today.
I love that question. It makes sense that I would become someone who's passionate about influence and someone who cares about being important or helping others to be important in the world, because I had so little influence and so little importance as a kid.
Really?
I'm not only from Canada, I'm from northern Canada. I grew up in the backwoods. In fact, we used to spend our summers in a remote backwood cabin. We'd go in by boat every year, just in time to see the hatching of the little baby mosquitoes.
I had to be flapping, trying to...
No kidding, yeah. But, as a result, my family became very important to me. And being the youngest, I was always the one trying to catch up, keep up. And so importance became a really important conversation to me from a very young age.
I'm surprised at that, because you're such a great leader, and you do so many things in that area in helping others, that I would have thought that you were just that one out there, just, no matter what somebody wanted to do, you were going to be there to help them, reach that goal.
Yeah, it's funny, but the thing we come to realize, especially in the influence conversation, is most people have an inner dialogue that stops them from becoming influential. And it also spurs them to become influential. Like, it's ironic, right? The same negative self-talk. And, there's a lot of research on this nowadays. People are calling it different things, negative self-talk, mind viruses, inner dialogue. But it really all boils down to human beings at a very young age start to make sense of the world, and we start telling ourselves things in the earliest failures of our life, and those things tend to start spurring us as we grow up and as we become adults. So the things that become our deepest fears are also our biggest motivators.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that in my own life and things that I did, and in other people's lives, and so that's a really important thing, because we really can't move forward and become all the things that we want to be without having those challenges and that fear and getting over it, so that we can, move on to what we really want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I also want to talk to you about, so you also, you are the chair of the Evolutionary Business Council. Yeah. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that. And you also lead an international, it's an invitation-only council of speakers and influencers.
Yeah.
and you're dedicated to teaching the principles. They need to be dedicated to the principles of success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's interesting. So my question to you on that, what helped you to bring this amazing group of people together that were like-minded? Because we talk about that all the time, don't we? Bringing people of like-mindedness together. And you obviously have done that in a big way as far as influencers are concerned. And certainly, having an idea or a way, a process, whatever you want to call it, that they've had to go through to get to success.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you it was some grand, brilliant vision. The reality is the Evolutionary Business Council was created more by intervention than anything else.
Well, and usually that's the way it is. I love it.
Well, and I can remember the day that we actually created the Evolutionary Business Council. I was hosting a big event in Calgary, Canada, which, at least according to my income tax, is where I live. And as a speaker, like a lot of speakers, I travel quite a lot. But we were hosting a big event here, and I had invited some of my most inspiring thought leaders to come join us. Danielle Gutierrez was there, Harrison Klein was there, Jennifer Huff was there, Dr. Shonda Perrin, who we all know has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, was there. And I decided, well, it would be really fun if we really did some community building, and I'll take them all up to the mountains after the event. And so after the mountains, we're all sitting around in this beautiful little condo that we've rented in the mountains. We're all sitting around having our, relaxing drink, and out of my mouth pops the phrase, someday when I'm influential enough, I'd love to start a community of people who really want to create change in the world, people who really want to push out new ideas and new thinking, because I'd love to help them see how to collaborate more powerfully and how to become even more influential.
Right.
And everyone in the room with me started laughing. Like there was this big private joke. And I'm looking around the room like, why are you all laughing?
Exactly.
Right? And Dan Gutierrez turns to me and says, weren't you on stage 4 or 5 hours ago telling everyone to notice when you say someday I will? And maybe that's a dream in your heart that you should do today, and your inner dialogue is just stopping you.
Oh my goodness.
And it was such a beautiful moment. Yeah, because Jennifer Huff turned to me in the next minute, and she, the big grin. Any of you have ever seen Jennifer Huff speak or seen her on an interview will know she's got this beautiful big, just a Cheshire cat grin.
Yes.
And she just looks at me and she says, so when are you going to do that, Teresa?
Wow. And so that was the birth.
That was the moment the EBC was born. And in fact, those people sitting around that room became the first board of directors for the EBC. The interesting thing about putting a stake in the ground and saying, I want to make my life about something bigger and really causing change in the world, amazing people will line up to help you. And the bigger you make it, the more likely you'll attract people that simply won't let you fail.
Yeah, it's so true. And I really have to share with the audience that where WBTVN is concerned, because it's a pretty big thing to put a network together.
Oh, no kidding.
Got 30 million viewers across the country right now. But I have to say that you're part of that. And you came into my life, and I really have to say it was love at first sight also, because I love all the things that you're doing. I just love the process that you have, and I love your good heart and the willingness to put these things together that are so empowering to other women and helping them. It's an amazing thing that you're doing, and it's needed. Is more important.
Well, all I can say is right back at you, Shea, Vaughn, because, that's how influence works, right? When you see other people that are really being a huge contribution in the world, AKA you, it's so obvious and such a no-brainer to help someone, right? And the reality is success is messy, right? Like no good idea ever came across seamlessly and without stress or without mistakes. And the reality is, so it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to stand in, okay, I'm going to create this thing because I really want to contribute to women in business.
Right.
And so that courage inspires people. It certainly inspired me. So how could I not be, wow, I'm your biggest fan. I really want to help you.
Yeah, and you definitely are all of that. I also want to talk about you're the co-founder of the Global Influence Summit that you do. Tell us a little bit about that, because I am so excited about being able to come and be a part of that at, the next time around. So I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, I'm the Global Influence Summit is one of the most exciting projects I do. It's actually sponsored by the Evolutionary Business Council. We're one of the sponsors of it. It's a huge event that I host with Charmaine Hammond and Joseph Ranseth every year, who are, of course, are also huge international level speakers. But we decided we needed a place for people to come to where we actually delve into the conversation of who do you need to be to really influence change on this planet, and what does that game look like? And how do we create this safe environment where people who are emerging into being thought leaders, people who are pushing out new ideas and new ways of thinking and new ways of being, that those people can come and do their own work in a safe and vulnerable environment? Because one of the things I learned early on in this game, especially stepping into leading the EBC, right? When you declare your life is about something like that, you need a safe space to go and be vulnerable and say, holy cow, I'm making this up as I go along. I don't know what I'm doing. Can someone help me? And so the Global Influence Summit was really around, okay, let's create this beautiful, safe container to have that conversation. How do we be bigger and really stand for creating a better world out there, a world that works for everyone?
Right. And I love the fact that, I think people think about these things and they want to do it, but they don't take action.
Yeah.
And that's really the key to it. You don't have to know everything. You're going to learn as you go. You're going to attract people that are going to help you in those areas that you're not good on, because we all have those areas that we do well, and we have lots of them that you don't do well. And that's really what collaboration and bringing it all together is all about. So when's the next summit coming up?
The next one's in March in San Diego, so I'm very excited. I love San Diego as a city, and there's nowhere I'd rather be in March.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, and we've got the Dana Hotel for this one, so not only will it be an amazing bunch of people, it'll be an amazing facility. So I'm very excited about it, March 14th to 16th in San Diego.
And I'm actually going to be there. I know that when we talked, I didn't think I could, but I actually arranged things around it, so I'm really excited about that. I want to talk about your book. I mean, Mass Influencer. I mean, just, why that title?
The truth is, I wanted everyday regular people to get that influence is just something you can learn, right? And we all have influence. I mean, anytime someone knows, likes, and trusts you enough to take action based on your word, you've got influence.
Right.
And yet there's a lot of good people out there, everyday heroes, that are being stopped from becoming highly influential by very simple, plain factors that they just really haven't thought of, right?
Exactly.
And one of the reasons I wrote this book is that there's a lot of good people out there who think influence is hard, And I like to compare influence to breathing, right? Because there was a time in your life you had to learn how to breathe, right? You came out of this beautiful, warm, safe environment.
Yeah.
Some idiot whacked you on the back, you cried. It was crazy painful. And then you got breathing. And from that point forward, you generally didn't go through your day going, breathing, how am I going to find the 24 hours today that I need to breathe? It just became the way you lived, right? And, unless there were moments maybe you realized that there's an advanced level conversation of breathing, maybe you started doing yoga or qigong or a martial art, or maybe there's those moments when your best friend elbowed you in the ribs and said, honey, you're not breathing, But by and large, it simply becomes who you are once you master the skill. And influence is a lot like that. It's a paradigm shift. And it's actually, once you get it, you can't imagine that you ever didn't really understand it, because it makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people have key things that are in the way. Like there's the rule book we learned growing up in the sandbox around fairness, right? And some of that flies in the face of influence because, we all learned networking in business. We learned things like it's a good idea to offer to buy a colleague a coffee, for example. We all learned that in referral marketing or networking. Right. And yet you only have to phone up the CEO of a Fortune 500 company and offer to buy them a coffee faster than you can say gatekeeper. you'll realize that there's a different set of rules for highly influential people, right?
Exactly.
And so a lot of it is just about learning that different paradigm of how do you deal with the highly influential,
Yeah.
and how do you really shift your thinking and shift your life so that influence simply becomes the way you are, and that you start acting like the highly influential and becoming one of them.
Absolutely. Well, I think that it's a must read for everyone,
thank you.
seriously. And the reason that I say that isn't because maybe somebody's even thinking about even being an entrepreneur, but just living your life and realizing that you are influencing people. It's not just about, being on TV, or it's not all about you. It's about the things that you do have influence around your family, your children, everything in your life, and the importance of that, because that's a real game changer also. And so I just think there's so much value that's in that really helps people to put it in perspective more than anything else, that they already have this.
It really is very true. Influence is like, really, it's as abundant as the air you breathe, right? And, one of the core principles of influence is you can't make yourself famous or influential. You can only give influence to other people, and they can give it back to you.
Right.
And when you get that influence is almost like a currency, except unlike other currencies, the more you spend your influence, the more you get. It's like an investment that doubles the minute you spend it. Holy cow, you get to spend it and keep it. Not only do you get to keep it, but you get way more back than you spend.
Absolutely.
When you get that paradigm of that's what influence is, and that all you have to do is go out there and help good people that you authentically admire. And I really emphasize authentic. Like, this is not about willy-nilly giving praise out there to people you don't authentically admire. But once you get that, your influence starts to grow exponentially.
Yeah. I connect that to people that kind of like talk about things, and yet it's like they know that this is something that's important, that they really, maybe even want to do, or trying to influence, other people. But the truth of the matter is, you have to believe in it so deeply down into your gut to make it authentic.
Yeah, very much so.
As long as you believe in it, and it's coming from the heart or whatever, that's what it takes.
And there's a lot of definitions of authenticity out there, right? Like, a lot of people are talking about authenticity. Mine is simply, is your inside voice saying the same thing as your outside voice? In other words, if you don't authentically admire the person you're giving influence to, you've got no business giving influence to them. You can tell when people have a disconnect between what they're thinking and what they're saying. It's obvious to anyone when that disconnect exists, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the same holds true to do what you love. Like, find something that totally lights you up, because otherwise you run the risk of being inauthentic everywhere.
Right. It's so true. If we often talk about, follow your dream, and in speaking opportunities, I'll ask, does everybody know what their dream is? And there's many people that do not raise their hand because they're not sure of what that is.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you give somebody, advice about following their dream when they haven't gotten there yet? So you got to go back a little bit on that to make, and give them some breathe some breath into that. And that can be done just by really sitting down and writing things that make you joyful and happy. What is it you like? And can you build a business around that? Is it something that you can do, every day, and it can make sense? And sometimes we have to also make sure that we don't listen to what other people, their opinions on it, because that's really all that they are. If your heart's in the right place and this is something you want to accomplish, you will get there.
Yeah,
right?
It's very true. Often the people closest to you get very throughetened when you start stepping into your own dreams, because that means they have to step into theirs. That's scary, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And they can, through love, they can drag you down. It's, the intentions are the best of intentions, but, think about stepping into the life of your dreams is scary, because your dreams are huge to you.
Yeah.
That is big and scary. And yet there's nobody out there better hardwired to live your dreams than you, because there's nobody that's going to be more passionate about it, nobody that's going to be more committed to it. and the fact that it's scary makes it all that more worthwhile and more juicy when you get there.
Well, not only that, I mean, you can talk to most stars out there before they're doing their movies or going on stage, like yourself and whatever. There's always that little something that comes into you. It's not that you're afraid. You know that you can do this. You know that you're good at it. At least you should believe that. Otherwise, don't get up on the stage and don't do it, right? Again. Yeah. But it's kind of like it turns on, it's like turning on a car. You need that little push to kind of like, okay, this is going to be okay. But you all feel a little bit of that just before you do it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It like really think about what you make your life about. I love the way Aristotle taught about this, because Aristotle first talked about the difference between hedonistic joy and eudaimonistic joy. Eudaimonia, he talked about a lot, was the happiness that comes from being a contribution to your community and to society, right? And in his earliest writings, which was thousands of years ago, he talked about the notion that most people get more lasting and deep joy from being a deep contribution to the community than they worry about the pleasures of the pleasures of the self. Yeah. And that's something to really notice, right? Are you making your dreams and your goals all around making your own life better, which is very inward focused? And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not naysaying that.
Me either.
But generally, your joy gets a lot more lasting and a lot deeper and a lot more meaningful when you make your life about being a contribution to the community. Yeah. And when you can do both at the same time, that's the realm of business. That's the realm of true, lasting joy and happiness.
It's funny that you're saying that, and I'll share this because it's so true about what you're saying and the things that I truly get the most joy out of. And that is going to either the colleges or the high school and teaching them about health and wellness, and even doing a genetics, workout with them. I did a tour when I was in Canada. I was born in Canada, in Brantford. So we share that.
Yeah, we miss you.
I miss it too, and I have family there and love it. But I did a tour not too long ago, and I did some TV there. I went on the social and some of the other things. But the thing that I loved the most was really going to the high school and to the colleges and really talking to the kids and being with them and, giving them one tiny thing to think about, that I left them with it might, just pop into their head at the right time in their life, and they'll be able to apply that to it. So that's my joy. I love
Beautiful.
Children. I also teach a hockey team that's 18. It's 18 triple A's. So they're at that stage in hockey where they either are going to move on and be professional, or they're just going to enjoy it. And that's okay. Either way it goes. But that brings just, great joy to my life, because I'm there to help them do their best. And when you see them focused and they're doing it, it's magic. It's really magic.
Wow.
So I love that. So I agree with all the things. Community. Because so many times I'm on TV or I'm doing something else, and it's not really, it's community, but a broader community.
Yeah, it's a really big community.
Community, isn't it? And so when you can do something, and you talk about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, community building, the approach of it and everything. Tell me how you go about that and some of the things that people should really, maybe know or think about doing.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I always like to say when I talk about community is don't mistake your community for your building or your gathering space, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs make this mistake. They start thinking about creating a business or gathering a tribe or a clientele around them. And they think their first step is to have a physical structure.
Right.
And in fact, I often tell people, no, the physical structure is the last step. When your clientele in your community is demanding a physical structure, that's when you buy it. In fact, we're finding that in the EBC now. A bunch of our members finally demanded, we need a gathering place. We're actually doing a big project down in Costa Rica because of that, right? But initially, there's lots you can do online or meeting at other people's facilities or with remote business. A, it's less risk. B, you go out and figure out who your tribe is while you're doing it, right? And that's really where your focus should be. Your focus should be on the people, not on the physical structure. And a lot of businesses that fail in the first go-round are because the entrepreneur spent too much time worrying about the physicality and the logistics and worrying less about the who and the how do we attract people.
Yeah.
And so they got mired down in the weeds, you know? So really think about whether you're making that mistake.
Yeah. Everything that you say just resonates. I know, not just with me, but the audience. And this is such a great conversation. We're kind of running out of time, and I don't want to do that. But I do want you to be able to share how someone can get in contact with you. Where do they go? And just leave us with, some words of wisdom. I know that you talk a lot about, that inner voice and becoming peaceful. And so give us something on that.
Well, I'd love it if you had a look at my book. We actually give the digital version of my book away for free because I never want grassroots everyday heroes to be stopped simply because they couldn't get access to my book. So if you go to massinfluencethebook.com, we've actually got a 30-day influence challenge you can take if you want to build some of your influence muscle, and we'll send you to all the links on Amazon, iBooks, wherever, Smashwords, where you can get the digital version of my book for free. So that's massinfluencethebook.com. And if I would leave you with one word of influence, I would say really think about who you choose to hang around with in life. In fact, one of the reasons we're creating this community in Costa Rica is our unashamed attempt to pick our neighbors, because it's really about who uplifts you, who stands you in your best self, who are the people who believe in you and who believe that you can create positive shift and change in the world. And choose to be around those people, because it's very true. You do become like those you associate with. That's why you'd see me, hanging out with you any day, Shea, Vaughn. I love what a big thinker and how much you think you could change the world. And it really comes down to that. Do yourself the favor of being around people who believe in you and who believe that you can conquer the world, and conquer's the wrong word, that can love the world till it's a better place.
Yeah.
Because it really is possible.
And that is so great, because the truth of the matter is that when you want to accomplish something, I always tell people to go out and tell other people what they are thinking about doing, because they will become your cheerleaders.
Absolutely.
They will help you to get there. So I think that I love that. Thank you so much. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and your intelligence and all of that with the audience. And I want to thank the audience for joining us today. And until the next time, everyone, we'll see you then. Take care.